All right, hi, I'm Beck Lane, and this is Catalyst & Company. Catalyst & Company, we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and we just keep working towards being the artist we've always wanted to be. Behind me is number 20, Frida Kahlo number 20, and she's number 20 out of a portfolio of 55 that I'm building, and I've been talking about here and online for a little bit now, but she's number 20. I have number 21 over there. And we're just keeping this train moving along. Last night I had an second reception for the first 17 out of 18 Frida Kahlos. And we're just going to keep adding to that. We have a second, the show is up for 2 months. The show is up for 2 months, and I'm just going to keep adding to it next month. In a few weeks, I hope to have 10 more Fridas. There's a lot that depends on that actually being accomplished, a lot out of my control that depends on that being accomplished, but I'm hoping to have 10 more to add. So we just keep whittling away at this portfolio of 55 that I have stuck in my head that I need to do. You're welcome. And there's something I really want to address today. As you know, you may have noticed, I'm trying to do different things, not just on Facebook, but on Instagram and around as well. I've been stabbing in the dark for a long time trying to do things, and I have people that are trying to help me get where I want to be. And that's going to require a recalibration of like the YouTube channel, for instance, because I was stuck in a hamster wheel for so long. A tired, sad hamster wheel. And Brenda, who keeps coming to all my stuff, you know, because you've been watching, as you pointed out, and I had to apologize for crying on YouTube and getting frustrated and angry and sad and depressed and expressing it all the time, but that's where it was. So and thank you for understanding, Brenda and Eric and everybody else. But now, you know, I'm starting to get seen here in the city. We had our first, I'm calling it a featurette. I was interviewed, and there was an online, a feature or a featurette was posted online yesterday by SRQ magazine. So it's something I've really wanted for a long time. Is to be seen, and I was interviewed by a blogger. I had part of a pre-interview with another publication in town last night at the reception, and we're going to do a full interview in a couple of days, sometimes this week, and then there's other things going on. So since we're entering a new era of Frida and Beck and blah 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 and the stuff, we're trying to figure out what to do here. So some of the direction I've been getting is, you know, topics of conversation, I guess, and things that we can work through together. You know, as catalysts, we can work through together. You know, hopefully you find you can glean some information that helps you as well as an artist. Especially, you know, if you've been stuck for a long time. So it's just a lot of refocus, and you know, the topics are things that I've thought about on my own, but now I have somebody else involved. I have other people involved in this, so I have to approach them differently and explain my thinking differently. And so I thought, man, you know what? We'll do it here. We'll do it on YouTube on Catalyst & Company, and maybe it'll help more people. And one subject that's come up that's been suggested over and over again is intent. And I haven't really understood whether I'm supposed to give clear intent on the work or the process or everything. So we're just gonna kind of go over it all. We have talked about intent in the work, and intent as our purpose as artists many times over the last 10 years. But I think in the refreshing, we have to recalibrate and also redefine what that means and readdress it. Readdress it for me, readdress it for the viewer and the artists that are viewing. and who have hung in there with me. So, that, just figured out why I had a piece of wood in the middle of my floor. It came out of a chair. There we are. So, intent for me falls on can fall into many different categories. Intent on the portfolios, intent on the subjects that I choose, intent on the painting process, intent on the why I use the materials I use, and hopefully I'll remember to cover all of that. Sorry, I just got back from a walk and I'm a little thirsty. It's warm. But in terms of intent as an artist, why don't we start there? You know, when I first started painting, I would kind of paint anything that anyone might think about buying. So it was a lot of lighthouses and seaside kitsch, because I'm like, well, at least people are buying it. They're paying a couple of bucks for this painting of a lighthouse and some hydrangea, because I had no clear understanding. I had no clear intent. I wasn't able to define what I wanted to do, and then, or what I was doing or why. And then at some point I was like, you know, I work from black and white photographs. I've always worked from black and white photographs. I love them. You can feel the people. You can feel the scenery. You can just feel a genuine, you know, an honesty to the material, the reference material in black and white photographs more than I can in color photographs. Plus, I don't like the color photographs because they're just telling me how to arrange the furniture. It's giving me a diagram like IKEA, and there's no adventure in that for me. So at one point I did realize, I'm painting, you know, I'm drawing and painting from black and white photographs. And I had defined why as being, I love that moment, capturing that moment, that look on people's faces, that feeling that something is about to happen, but we don't know what. So it is the moment before movement begins again. And that was my intent for quite a while, 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not sure. That's what I thought my intent was. But now that I've been doing it for about 12 years, doing portraits of people, I've realized, and right now, especially like Frida Kahlo or the black and brown African American figures I have up, I've realized that's partially true. You know, we're capturing that moment before movement begins again, and we don't know what's about to happen. We don't know what's happened previously. We don't know what's about to happen. It's not just that. What I capture, what I try and express, well, I first try to find people who show grit, the expression of grit and determination. They show that they've been through things. They've been through rough, tough things. Not, I can't go get that cup of coffee or go to Lululemon or, you know, that type of thing, but real things that have almost destroyed them. I see it in their faces. That's what I look for in the reference material. And I take that and I try and capture it. I try and bottle it and paint and express that person and that feeling in a way that engages the viewer and challenges the viewer. Like with Frida Kahlo, like with my black and brown African American figures, look, most of the figure and portrait work I do, I want the figure to challenge the viewer to see something else. With the figures that the portraits that I do, the figures that I do, it's a lot of the world tried to leave me behind. The world tried to leave me behind. So we're challenging the viewer to see what I could have been if the world had not left me behind or placed me in a box and decided that I had no value just because what I do at the moment is not fashionable. I'm sorry, I've had conversations the past couple days where I'm a little fired up, but really that's what it is. When we're looking at the Frida Kahlos, when we're looking at reference material of Frida Kahlo, let's remember, she wasn't Frida Kahlo, the most celebrated artist in the world, or one of the most. She was nothing. She was nothing. She wasn't fashionable. Very few people saw her value. Very few people. They saw her as Diego Rivera's wife. She was an object to be owned and to be labeled and placed in a box, and she was the little woman who dabbled. But when we're looking in her eyes, I see, and I think most people see, something that the cultures and society and fashion around her could not see at the time, which was she knew her worth in this world and her value in this world. Yayoi Kusama, the same thing. Alice Neal, the same thing. Vincent van Gogh, in his letters to his brother Theo, trying desperately to be heard in this world. Same thing. I know my value. I know what I'm worth. It's the world that needs to wake up. It's the world that needs to wake up and change its point of view. My black and brown figure's the same thing. At Love Art Repeat Gallery, it's the exact same thing. So they're figures that are staring at the viewer and challenging the viewer to see their value at the time and how much more they could have been if they hadn't been pushed aside, pushed to the fringes, ignored, treated with absolute ambivalence. Or, you know, the little woman who dabbled. So that is one portion of the intent in my work, is to challenge the viewer to actually see and feel the picture, the figure that has been captured or expressed. My work is not, a comment came up, in fact, last night, where someone said, none of her figures, or none of her Fridas are smiling. They're not happy. Frida had a really rough life. She had a tough, rough life. And she's painting, and she's producing work, and she's trying to get to the world to see her. And it wasn't. So she's not going to be hippity-skippity dancing through life. She said something like she had two catastrophic events in her life. One was the bus accident that crippled her, and the second was Diego Rivera, you know, and their marriage and their relationship. So she's not going to be hippity-skippity, ma'am. Sorry about that. And I forgot where I was going, but I'll move on to this because I always forget what I'm doing. But the second intent is also in the work is not just, this was the thing, not just painting a pretty picture of, you know, with the happiness, like my gallery, like the gallery in New York, we want you to paint happy white children. It's not, I think where we ran into difficulty there, where we became at odds there, even though I tried to jump through the hoops to fulfill that need or that want of theirs, is I'm capturing feelings, I'm capturing energy, I'm capturing ideas, I'm expressing all of this. All the undercurrent of being a human is what I'm trying, or person struggling in this world is what I'm trying to capture. So that's where the opposition is. There are people that just want you to paint pretty pictures, and I don't do that. And there's so many of us that don't. We don't just go, here's an adorable little child having a moment, and I'm going to paint an adorable child. This is Frida Kahlo. This is Frida Kahlo in the beginning, when she knew her worth. When she knew her worth, and she had her family around her telling her she was valuable and needed to be considered, and that she was smart and she was talented, etc., etc. So That's the intent, is getting, part of the intent is getting, capturing the energy of being a human being, the complexities of being a human being, and a human being who struggles and perseveres regardless, keeps going regardless. So that's one intent. Intent number two, and this should be a little bit lighter and easier, is when I'm painting, and I see this in other artists that I follow, and in fact people who don't know that I follow them, and people I admire and love very much, whose work I love very much, is they're having a conversation once again with the viewer about painting. And I'm very strong on this intent with me. Again, it's not about painting pretty pictures, as you know, James Cormier said to me in at the Boston Museums, no, at the Vesper George School of Art, one of my instructors, he looked at me one day and said, "We're not just here to paint pretty pictures." I had no idea what that meant at the time. Now I do. So we're not just painting pretty pictures, cute, adorable, pretty pictures. We're not just painting lighthouses. We're painting to capture the human spirit, not the human spirit, but what it means to be alive and at this particular point in time, but also what it is to paint. What it is to paint, what it is to be a painter, what it is to work with paint. That's another portion of my intent, the work. And I see this in other artists as well. When we put down a brushstroke, it's, for some people, it's whoopsie doodle and I don't care because I'm doing TikTok. But for others that are looking for something deeper, that brushstroke has meaning. That brushstroke has a purpose. Like our people, they have a purpose. When I'm painting the faces, it's when I'm painting, it can either be, I can work with either mineral spirits and oil paint, or, oh, actually there are layers, or that's the finishing layer is mineral spirits with oil paint, or Neo McGilp, my favorite Neo McGilp that everybody knows about in oil paint. Of course, before that is the black and white gesso, which you can kind of see down below. Black and white gesso, aerosol, putting in the shapes and colors and different textures. Over the top of that is either mineral spirits and oil, or oil and Neo McGilp. So all of that has a purpose. The first layer of gesso, using black and white gesso and graying the gesso out, is there to, number one, confuse me, because painting should be fun, a fun adventure. And that keeps me utterly confused, so it's a fun adventure. Like being lost in the woods and not being able to see the sky through the tree line. It's awesome. And you're lost and you don't know if you're ever going to get out because you've confused yourself and you don't have your compass. So then the aerosol goes down, adding color and texture and patterns and things. But both of those layers, the underpainting for it, are there not just to keep me confused and entertained, but also because when we get to the oil paint, depending on the mixture I use, it will produce different effects once the painting is in light. So mineral spirits and oils, it's going to create a flat effect, which all of my faces have. It's a flat, dry effect. Flat, dry effect in the hair right now, or in the cloth. Everything's laid out with the mineral spirits and oils as I move along the first layer, but it's first couple layers, but as we get towards the end, then I'll put certain layers or certain brush strokes down, individual brush strokes down, using oil and Neo McGilp. Because light will go through the Neo McGilp and oil, down to the aerosol paint, down to either the white gesso and black gesso, bounce back through because of the white gesso, not bounce back through because of the black gesso, which has now absorbed the light, and it either will or will not bounce back, a light will or will not bounce back out through the aerosol out to the oil and Neo McGilp, and then give a little bit of a glow. And there are certain colors that give a little bit of a glow, including like this particular teal. There's this particular blue. If it were down in aerosol, it would give a little bit of a glow. Different types of oils. but the orange especially, oranges and reds will give a little bit of a glow. And it's kind of a secret in the painting, a little key that you have to watch for. It just depends on the light and where the painting is placed. And as I said, the mineral spirits with oil produce a flat effect. And I keep a flat effect on the face because I don't want to overpaint, which I tend to do with Neo McGill when we get into something as important, an anchor like the face. I can overpaint if I mix in mediums. So we keep this really dry. But there's another effect too. When we come to the outside with Neo McGill, when we go to the blouse and we start adding layers of white, so we get nice creases and things with the white, that gives a flat against glossy effect, which can bend almost, or in some paintings, bend the figure. It will bend the figure to the viewer with the naked eye, and it will play with the viewer's naked eye. And the gloss colors, the gloss layers, will draw the viewer in, but then there's something in the viewer's head that of course draws you to the face, because this is what we're looking for. We're looking for ourselves in the portrait, in the figure work. So we're drawn to the face. We're looking for recognition. Do I see myself in that face? What do I recognize? So we come up to the face, and then there's this thing in the viewer's head, and I've heard this a million times, and I know it, where you go, but this is glossy and shiny, and I'm basically a parakeet, and it's shiny, and I need to go near it. I'm a little raven, and I'm looking for things that glitter and sparkle and are shiny and attract my eye. So it's screwing with the viewer's head, because the gloss says this is of importance. The glossy, shiny thing says this is of importance, and yet the viewer's eye goes up to the flat and says, no, this is where you need to pay attention. To hopefully the limited brush strokes, hopefully, and the not too many layers, hopefully, that we, I haven't overpainted, or we haven't overpainted. We've kept it as minimalist as a maximist painter can. So there's two forms of intent, and we are at 23 minutes. So I'm going to call it quits on this. And I know this is, I've been very serious in this, but we're trying to sort through things. What is my intent now on YouTube? What is my intent now on online? What is my intent in talking to people on social media? So I think together, we're going to be sorting through more meaningful things, and God damn it, it happened again. Oh, my life. Oh my God. So, yeah, I think we're just gonna keep exploring intent and sorting through things and climbing out of that stupid box people put us in. Hopefully. And I gotta say, I have to say there are several people I think of, especially when I'm talking about intent and about great painters. And one of them is Wendy Highsmith. I hope I sang her name right. I'll find a link to her. Wendy Heisman? Wendy, you know who you are, and I'll put her link down below. Because I watch her online. I watch her online all the time, and I watch her brushstrokes, and I watch her artwork like a lot of people I watch evolve. And I hope she's one of those people that one day I can turn around and go, I'm on the sleigh, we're moving, and I can extend my hand and say, let's climb on this together. I hope to do that with a lot of people, a lot of artists I know, especially who have been involved in this channel, and been so supportive over the years. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I'm Beck Lane. This is Catalyst & Company, where we're blah, 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 blah. If you'd like to help support Catalyst & Company, all the links are down below, including links to Patreon, where you can help supply monthly support, TeePublic, where you can buy images of the work, on t-shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs, etc. And I will be adding to the Frida Kahlo images. We're going to have a whole collection of them up over time. As well as my galleries, including Love Art Repeat, where I have the 18 African-American, historical African-American and Black and brown figures, and the first 17 Frida Kahlos at Luxau Gallery. Those links will be down below as well. And J. Louise at Blue Egg, Chasen Galleries, and Raphael Coelho at Art Front. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Okay, ready, Carrie? Ready, carries? Multiple carries? Cheer. Let's go back to that. Ready? Remember when we used to do this? Cheer. Meow, meow, meow. Brenda, we'll see you again soon.